I have a number of apologies to begin with this evening. And first, as a father, I want to apologize to the many children in this room tonight. Our generation has failed you. As Jackie and other folks have already said before me, these problems are decades in the running. We've known about the extent of these, and we've failed to adequately demand what we should from leadership in our communities. Likewise, I need to apologize to the victims of this violence that occurred on January 25th and their families, and to this community. I have to apologize for waiting. I owe this community my service and responsibility as a scholar and expert in these issues, and as a citizen. I knew this was a problem, and I didn't speak loudly enough and soon enough. We shouldn't be responding after the fact to problems that we know are already amongst us. Echoing Pastor Willie's sentiments, in recognizing my own professional failures, I ask the council to join me in recognizing their own. And I call on the audience as well to accept responsibility to demand more from the leaders in our community. There's no excuse for continued failure to improve policing and its oversight in Troy. I'm calling on Chairman Doherty and Chief Tedesco to make available the use of force policy for Troy Police Department, the training on this, the complete policy on oversight thereof, and reporting mechanisms for findings of use of force outcomes. When Chief Tedesco immediately responded to media that he's not stepping down, immediately after saying that, he's not suspending these officers. The mayor also said that the officers at Kokopelli's used necessary force. This suggests a very deep problem. I choose to speak to you mostly tonight within my academic capacity. And, you know, academics work very hard to prove what everybody already knows. We already know the causes of excessive force, but the research itself confirms this popular impression. Three primary explanations. The first is that it's a result of bad apples. It's a few officers who are out of line that when they step out of line merely need to be held accountable within the policies and laws of their community. And many of the suggestions this evening are in line with that. Other prominent explanation is that it's a result of socialization, that certain personality types and who have been people socialized in a particular way are drawn to police work. And this personality makes them prone to violence. And once they are within police work, they're socialized into the culture of policing that it makes them even more prone to violence. And we've all heard about the blue wall of silence, and this is part of this. I saw a poster today that says, "Good cops arrest bad cops." But we know that never happens. So we might wonder where those good cops are. The third popular common explanation for the cause of excessive force is that it has to do with the structure and the institutions that both train and oversee and manage police in their day-to-day operations. There's something wrong with the structure itself that can be improved. And As Jackie quoted W.E.B. Du Bois, now is the time. We need to see this as an opportunity. And I speak to you again as somebody who studies use of force policy about what we already know and how we can improve this. We know that all of these three explanations for what causes excessive force are all contributing factors. And we know from decades of research that those reforms that target the structure of the department and its oversight are most effective at resolving all three causes. Reform to the structure of the department is the best way to fix this problem. In echoing the calls for community policing, that's one way, but also the documentation of use of force incidents needs to meet best practices that have been advocated by police chiefs, policymakers, and community activists around the country. Every time force is used, even when an arrest is not made and when an injury is not reported, that needs to be documented in an incident report. That incident report, every one of them, needs to be turned over to an external and authorized community board. That community review board will audit each use of force incident report and also compile complaints from citizens directly. That community review board should be given authority to terminate officers who break the law or violate policy in their use of force, and to recommend criminal charges to the district attorney. The community review board should compile regular reports that are released to the public and to the FBI for oversight. This is an opportunity to do better, to be leaders, to institute reforms that have worked elsewhere, and to prove to our community that we know that we can be the leaders that we need to be. We can serve as an example to other departments that are having similar problems. It's really the only acceptable response. Now, I'm also a member of the newly formed Community Alliance Against Police Violence, and we have circulated a petition that was just launched yesterday, and it makes 3 demands. I can't speak here today without making the first of them at least. Immediately drop the charges against everyone who was arrested inside Coca-Cola. These young men and women have their lives on hold with very serious criminal charges hanging over their heads, and their lives need to be able to move on. They have already experienced a trauma that none of us should ever have to experience. But that trauma continues daily with these charges hanging over their heads, and these charges need to be dropped immediately. Officers who use their nightsticks, swinging wildly into crowds, used deadly force against a citizen. The striking to the head with a baton is equal to firing a gun or ramming with a car. Federal Department of Justice use of force policies state this clearly. They need to be suspended immediately without pay, and an external, authorized review can make a determination of whether they committed a criminal act of assault with a deadly weapon. Thank you for having me today.